there, my name is Kelly Dale with Off the Beaded Path Beadstore.com. Today I'm going to be showing you how to make the Duo Beaded Bead. All you need for one beaded bead is 12 Superduo beads, a half gram of a size 11 Toho brand seed bead, a size 12 beading needle, and your favorite beading thread. If you need step-by-step pattern assistance, I do have the pattern available on my website at offthebeadedpathbeadstore.com. So go and grab that if you need it. Otherwise, let's go ahead and look at some more details and let's get started. The beaded beads I'm going to show you how to make today are really quick to make, and they really can be made into just about anything. I've whipped up some here in some different colors I'm going to be doing some earrings with. You can see here that I have put these on chain to make a necklace, and I've just made a little loop of seed beads as the spacer between those, and you can also do some really cute tassel earrings. They're a lot of fun, all with the same little beaded bead. So to make my beaded bead, I like to use two colors. Now you can absolutely use one, but I'm going to use two. I use a color for the top and the bottom and one for the middle. So you can see here I've used the silver and the blue. Here I have swapped out the colors and used different colors on the top and the bottom. And on these, I've mainly got that turquoise on the top and the bottom. You'll want to pick out a seed bead that is a kind of, I guess, a color that'll go with a lot of things. And a Toho brand seed bead is going to be your best friend with this project. It's just, I found they work the absolute best for the spacing and all of that. I have 1 yard of my thread already here on my needle, and the one thing you'll want to make sure, even though you can use any kind of thread you want, a thread such as the S-Line Fire or the Fireline or Wildfire is going to be better for you because you're going to get a nice stiff beaded bead and not a floppy beaded bead. So I highly suggest a thread like that. So to get started, I'm going to thread on 3 duos. So it's going to be a bottom color, a middle color, and a top color. So if you wanted to use 3 colors, you could absolutely do that. In addition to these, we're going to thread on 3 of our size 11 Toho brand seed beads, and then 1 Superduo. Now that Superduo I'm going to pick up one is going to be a top color because it is going to go right next to this duo here. When I pull these down, I want to make sure that I leave myself about an 8 to 10 inch tail thread because I want to use it to finish out the other side of my beaded bead. So I'm just going to kind of leave that tail there, and I'm going to hold on to that middle duo for now because at this point I'm going to take the needle and I'm going to pass down through the open hole of the middle color duo so that when I pull that, this is what it's going to look like. Just like that. I'll see if I can zoom in just a little bit here for you. Yeah, there we go. All right, so that's what it's going to look like. Now I'm going to thread on 1 duo. This is going to be a bottom color duo and 3 11s. I'm going to pass the needle through this row of duos here. So duo, duo, duo. So 1, 2, and sometimes it's just not going to work that way, and you're just going to have to pick it up and make it do it. So when you pull those threads now, it should look just like that. It should be even on the top and the bottom. Now we need to get into position for the next row. So to get into position, I'm going to pass through my 3 11s, down through these 3 duos, and then through 1 11. So, And as you work, these duos are going to get tighter and tighter and harder to get through. So that's why I suggest a size 12 needle when you're working with this. So we're coming out of that single bead there, and I'm going to thread on 2 11s. Get that little tail thread out of my way there. I'm going to use these 11s, and I'm going to pass up through the open hole of that same duo. I'm going to thread on a duo. That's going to be a center color duo. And I'm going to pass through the open hole of the next duo. So you can see it pops my bead right there in place. I'm going to thread on 2 11s. And I have to connect because you see how these are connected here. So I need to make sure that these are connected in that same way. So I'm going to take the needle and I'm going to come down through 1 11. And if I can, at the same time, I'm going to pass down through all 3 of those duos and then the 11 there at the bottom. So when I pull this, you can see there how that's looking. Now you can just take and you can pop up that bead. It doesn't matter because we're going to be using these here in a few minutes. So it really doesn't matter if it lays flat or pops up. Not an issue. I'm going to continue to pass through the 2 11s down here at the bottom. And then all the way straight up to where I'm coming out of the 11, single 11 there at the top. I'm going to thread on 2 11s and 1 duo. So the duo I put on is going to be the top color duo. And I'm going to pass through the open hole of the next duo, which is going to be that middle color. I'm going to thread on a duo. So this is going to be a bottom color duo and 2 11s. And I'm going to take the needle and I'm going to come to the 11-0 here on this side, and I'm going to pass straight up through. So that now it looks like this. So I've got an even piece again. I'm going to pass through the 2 11s and straight down through the row, and then come out of the 11 there on the bottom. I'm going to thread on 2 11s and pass up through the open hole of the duo. Thread on a duo, so that's going to be a middle colored duo. And I go through that next duo. Now 2 11s. And I'm going to pass down through an 11, my 3 duos, and the 11 down there. So straight down. And then I'm going to pass through to exit out of that top 11 there. So I have to go through 2 11s, straight up through my row of 3, and then 1 11. So now it's 2 11s, a duo, which is going to be a top colored duo, down through the pink there. Now a duo, which would be a bottom color, and 2 11s. And we're going to come to that previous 11. We're going to pass all the way up through, just like that. Pass through 2 11s. And straight down to come out of the 11 there at the bottom. There we go. So that's looking good, looking good. Now 2 11s and pass up through a duo. We're going to add one last center duo. And now 2 11s. And we've got to connect them there to that last 11. So I'm doing the 11 and straight down through. Now this is the point where once I've got those on, it's going to get harder to go straight down through that. So if you can't go straight down through it, just go through 1 bead or 2 beads at a time, whatever you need to do. And then remember to end and get ready for the next one. We got to be coming up out here. So I'm going through the 2 11s straight up through to come out of that 11 at the top. So the basic line is done now. And what we're going to do is we are going to fold this in half, because now we're going to zip this up. So we start out with 2 11s, and if I hold it like this, you can see I'm coming across from the end, and I'm going to go down through the 11 over here on this right hand side. Not going to pull it tight yet, because now I'm going to go through the middle duo, which is going to be the duo there on the left for me. And then before I pull it tight, I'm going to go through the last duo, bottom duo, which is a duo on the right. And once I pull that, you see now how that pulls that together. So we have an infinity loop. We can't tell where we started and ended with those duos. I'm going to thread on 2 11s, and we have to finish this part. Remember, we got it up here. Now we got to do it down here. So I'm going through the 11 and then up through the duos. So I could only get through one there. I'm not going to force it because I don't want to bust my duo. So I'm just going to then come to the next one. And then through that 11 there, I'm going to have to come out to the front to get through that 11. Okay. So when you look at it, we still have, you'll notice here, if I hold it from the top, we still have a section here that needs to be connected together with an 11-0. We've got one there, and we have one on the bottom that both need this. So I'm going to pass through the 2 11s that I've got there. And then down through 3 duos and the 11, so that I'm coming out right there. I'm going to thread on 1 11 because we already have one on each side, so I just need one more. So 1 11, and I'm going to come to the 11 over here on this side, and I'm going to go through that 11 and straight up through those duos. And if I can come out of the 11 at the top, that would be wonderful, but I didn't. It's okay. So I'm just going to take the needle and pass through that 11 there. Okay, and you can see now I have one last 11 that I have to add. So I'm going to thread on that 11, and I'm going to come down through just like that. So then now I have all the 11s on the top connected, all the 11s on the bottom connected. Now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take the working thread. See, my tail thread is down here on the bottom, and that's perfectly fine. That's what I want. So I want to take this thread and I want to pass to the top. So I'm just going to pass through the beads to come out of the top. And then you'll notice here, we have 8 of our 11s that are on the top, and they're laying just like this one is here. So we want to take and we want to pass through those 8 beads on the top. We're not going to put anything in between them. We're just going to pass through them and pull the thread tightly as you pass through. And what's going to start to happen is you'll notice there, it's going to pull those beads towards the center. So when you pull it tight, it's going to be just like that. I normally will go through this row of beads here along this top edge. I normally will go through it about 3 times, pulling that thread tight. On the last pass through, I will put some half hitch knots. So to do the half hitch knots, I'm just going to go under the thread there between 2 of the beads that are side by side. I'm going to pull the thread and leave a little loop, and I'm going to stick my needle through that loop and pull. And that gives me a little half hitch knot. And then I'm going to pass through a couple more beads, and I'm going to do the same thing. And pass through. And I'm going to do that just a couple of times. And then once I'm happy with that, I can take and I can use a pair of scissors or a thread zap or whatever you want to get rid of that excess thread. Then you're going to put a needle on this little tail thread, and we're going to do the same thing down here as you did up here to complete the beaded bead, so that when you do that, then both your top and your bottom holes are complete and ready to go. So you can see there, it's got about a 3.5 millimeter to 4 millimeter size hole. I can take, and if you use a 4 millimeter bicone, it fits perfectly without going inside of the hole. That's the widest part of the cone that keeps it there. So you really can kind of play with these beaded beads and, again, make them into anything that you want. This is just some thin chain that I had. Again, you can see there how they'll just slide on that one. You can put it on leather. You can really have fun with these and make a really fun new piece of jewelry with your little beaded beads. So friends, I hope you enjoyed learning how to make this really simple stash buster beaded bead using your normal Superduo beads. Again, I do have that pattern for sale on my website, off the Beaded Path beadstore.com. So thanks so much for joining me, and we'll see you again next time for another fun beading project.